This is AEDT 1110U. This is Foundations of Adult Learning, and this is the final PBL assignment, PBL D, and this is prepared and presented by Brendan. So the assignment at hand, we're to choose a prior adult learning experience that you may have participated in as an adult learner. We're to provide a description of the learning experience and identify the teaching methods. So unlike most in the course, I am still getting back into school, and I have been in the workforce now for about 5 or 6 years since graduating college when I was 20. And I haven't really been in too many programs or actual facilitated instructional methods outside of the workforce. So I wanted to look at something that I've been doing now for coming up on 4 years. So along the way, currently I've been working at the General Motors Oshawa plant for 3 years. During that time, I have been faced with various old and new styles of teaching throughout my never-ending training and retraining. Although some forms of training are relevant, many are taught using several out-of-date methods. I can tell you firsthand that being part of the automotive factory workforce is no easy task. In order to be successful on the job, you need to be dedicated, hardworking, and an adaptive learner. I entered my current area of employment when I just turned 23, and I am just about to turn 26. When transitioning from the older Impala Consolidated plant to the more newly renovated Camaro plant, you are sure to see several learning obstacles. So the new ways. Driving into the future of the auto assembly. The new Camaro, Buick, and Cadillac plant have invested upwards of $300 million surrounding production growth and application upkeep in order to stay innovative and keep up to date. I have performed jobs on close to 100 different processes throughout all stages of vehicle development. In the few short years I have been working for General Motors, I have been trained in easily over 50 different areas of the vehicle assembly plant, and I have learned through several forms of communication methods. I've worked on everything from electrical hookups, tires, fenders, right down to the ignition phase where we drive the cars off into the water storm test. The old ways, the consolidated car and SUV plant. Material is brought in by trucks and trains, and the first sheets of sheet metal construction and body stamping steps begin. This is the completely opposite end of the spectrum. Nearly 2 full kilometers away where the process is concluded, the process here is just getting started. A 30-year-old assembly process and plant is still operating full-time today, trying to construct a more technologically advanced end product. With very little changes made to this process, you are sure to face several obstacles and roadblocks. The connection. Initial training consists of 3 days of direct instructional training, but once you are on the job, there is little that has been understood to be practical. The information does not correlate until you see things firsthand. Working according to instructional teaching methods may make trainees feel more comfortable initially because of the original knowledge installed, but that does not last over time as anxiety can take precedence. Thinking too much about constructed teaching methods can put you behind when it comes to realistic expectations of your department. So on the one side, the flex plan. The plan is advanced and the work material is tracked with a progressive LMS style of training. Things are ergonomically correct and more attention to operator comfort and ideal conditions are present for raw material locations. Everything is set to new standards within training, related to the job at hand and knowledge of the overall surroundings relevant to production mechanics. So the learning style. Direct instructional methodologies have been the most traditional and common approaches used in education for centuries. They are predicated on a belief that the role of the teacher is to deliver information, and that if the content is delivered in a consistently well-organized and appropriately paced manner, all students will be capable of learning it. This direct method involves attention to detail lessons, repetitive practice, and places the emphasis on the instructor and the content as opposed to the student. Direct instruction may be used in situations where a psychomotor skill needs to be developed, in which it is critical that students mimic the teacher's movements or steps exactly. Direct instruction is the best method in order to prevent an accident or injury. And in this instance, employees are expected to develop the ability to query, discuss, critique, problem solve, and apply what they are learning. But unfortunately, it is not always the case. On the other side, the consolidated plan. They are very close to sticking with the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Most stations and machinery are still operating on out-of-date systems. Certain aspects of the jobs are left out of the overall training process, and methods and practices are rarely updated or revised. This part of the assembly plant is where a lot of the self-teaching or individual learning comes into play. You have no choice but to guess and test, and it is not until trial and error comes into play that you realize the most comfortable, productive way to do a task. If you work by the book, you find yourself exhausted and frustrated, with expectations leaving you completely at the mercy of the machinery. In the stamping plant or body plant, when a part isn't cooperating properly or loading properly on the circuit or robot you're working with, you have to make a decision yourself and analyze on various levels. There is always new things coming up on the job that are not explained. So learning styles, the connection between direct and individual, where individual learning methods take into account the reality that some students learn better on their own. Everyone has a preferred style of learning and processes information differently. Some students will require more practice with content than others and may need to progress at their own pace. Direct learning provides everyone with the same shared information and creates more of a structure for the work. Both styles have their pros and cons, and in this type of workplace, both are needed. General Motors needs to stay away from the installation of fear, and the individual process is extremely important to mold each particular task with that learner, as far as needs and expectations. You need to ask the question to initiate learning and information. Not all information is widely available and shared, and this is something that needs to change. So there is a form of formal instructional guidance here at General Motors. It is a formed guide of your footprint for the job assigned to you. And it is more of a how-to manual, and it is referred to as the Blue Book. It tries to show the operator the best way to perform the job according to the company's standards. Again, like initial training relevant to your job, things are out of date and not always relevant. So as far as health and safety and hazardous material training, safety is the overriding priority at General Motors. And I would have to say that representatives and actual hands-on materials to refer to while on the job are fairly limited and not always within arm's reach as you would expect. This information is vital for your well-being while inside the plant facility. Many things that you come in contact with are considered hazardous and could potentially harm you. Things range from finishing oil on the stamping sheets to much more dangerous hot contact weld sealers. So my solution: give students clear, concise explanations and illustrations of the subject matter and the task at hand that they're asking to be performed. From my own experience in both the training and working environment, I think it is obvious that both styles of learning are vital for any employee's success and growth within General Motors. In its current state, I would recommend that the company work to expand on their direct teachings and training, especially within their consolidated plant. Individual learning is always going to occur and be needed, but having more of a consistent, structured, and concrete form of information would ensure that every operation is done safely, properly, and efficiently. Provide frequent opportunities for practice and increasingly complex information of skills. In my opinion, General Motors has the tools to create a successful learning environment, but they are not using them to their full potential. There is a lot of room for improvement here in Oshawa, and with over 5,000 employees nearly at this location alone, there are many different learner needs, and the company should ensure that their training styles and methods reflect that. Thank you all very much for viewing my presentation. If you have any comments or questions related to the presentation, please feel free to email me. And these are some references relevant to the information and topic at hand. Thanks again.